Today we will delve into the story of Terah, a character mentioned in the Bible, but whose role is often overshadowed by his son Abraham, one of the central figures in Scripture. Terah, the father of Abraham, was also the progenitor of Nahor, Haran, and Sarai, as reported in Genesis 11. Although the Bible does not provide many biographical details about him, his importance lies in the connection to the lineage that would culminate in the founding of the people of Israel and, of course, in Abraham himself. The story of Terah is intertwined with a time of cultural and spiritual transition, and although the focus is on Abraham, Terah's journey offers us a glimpse into the traditions, choices, and challenges faced by his family. Terah was born in the city of Ur of the Chaldeans, a prosperous metropolis of ancient Mesopotamia, located in what is now Iraq. Ur was a highly developed city, known for its trade, imposing architecture, and, most importantly, its fervent religious practices. The worship of Nana, the moon god, was dominant, and evidence suggests that Terah and his family were part of this idolatrous tradition. In Joshua 24 verse 2, it is mentioned that Terah worshipped other gods besides the true God, which gives us a clue about the environment in which Abraham was raised. Terah's lineage traces back to Shem, one of Noah's sons. This connection to Shem, mentioned in Genesis 11, is crucial for understanding Terah's place in biblical genealogy. Genealogy, often seen merely as a list of names, is, in fact, a spiritual map pointing to the continuity of the divine plan, from Noah's salvation to the formation of the people of Israel through Abraham. Each name in this genealogy, including Terah's, represents a piece in this puzzle. Terah had 3 sons, Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. Haran was the father of Lot, and according to Genesis 11 verse 28, he died young, before his family migrated to Haran, another Mesopotamian city. The premature death of Haran was likely a significant moment in Terah's life, influencing his decision to leave Ur. Despite being the patriarch of the family, Terah is a relatively silent figure in the biblical narrative, mentioned mainly in the context of his family's journey. One of Terah's most significant actions was his decision to leave Ur. According to Genesis 11 verse 31, Terah decided to migrate with his family toward the land of Canaan. He departed with Abraham, Sarai, and Lot, and they traveled north to Haran. However, for reasons that the Bible does not explain in detail, Terah did not complete the journey to Canaan, settling instead in Haran, where he lived until his death at 205 years old. This pause in Haran is curious, especially because Abraham later receives the divine call to continue this journey and reach the promised land. Terah's journey from Ur to Haran raises intriguing questions. The Bible does not provide a clear explanation for why Terah left Ur, but we can speculate. Ur was, at that time, a center of power and idolatry, and it is possible that Terah recognized the need to seek a different life for his family. Although Joshua 24 verse 2 makes it clear that Terah was still an idolater, it is conceivable that he was, consciously or not, preparing the way for the future divine call that Abraham would receive. Haran, where Terah finally settled, was another important city on the trade route of the time, and, like Ur, also had a strong worship of the moon god. This suggests that even after leaving Ur, Terah had not completely distanced himself from the pagan environment in which his family was embedded. However, it is in Haran that Abraham receives God's command to leave his father's house and go to the land that the Lord would show him, marking the beginning of his faith journey. The relationship between Terah and Abraham, although not deeply explored in the biblical text, seems to represent a spiritual transition point. Terah embodies the old world, trapped in tradition and idolatry, while Abraham symbolizes a new beginning, the man whom God chooses to be the father of a great nation. God's command to Abraham in Genesis 12 verse 1 is clear. Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you." This call implies a rupture, not only physically but also spiritually, from the idolatrous past that Terah represented. Another point of interest is Terah's relationship with his daughter-in-law Sarai. According to Genesis 20 verse 12, Sarai was Abraham's half-sister, the daughter of Terah, but by a different mother. Such marriages were common at the time, and were not viewed with the same taboos we hold today. The relationship between Abraham and Sarai becomes central to the biblical narrative, especially regarding the divine promise of an heir. But Terah's role as the patriarch of this complex family is a backdrop we cannot ignore. Although Terah is not a central figure in biblical history, he holds unique importance as a transition point between the old and the new. He is the father of the man who would change the course of biblical history and humanity. But he himself never seems to have taken that step of faith that his son did. The story of Terah reminds us that sometimes we are called to pave the way for others to complete the journey. Terah began the migration to Canaan, but it was Abraham who completed it, in obedience to the divine call. Terah died in Haran at the age of 205, as reported in Genesis 11 verse 32. His death marks the end of an era and the beginning of another. Abraham, now freed from obligations to his father, was ready to follow God's plan for his life. From this point on, the biblical narrative focuses almost entirely on Abraham and his descendants. But the role of Terah as the father who initiated this journey should not be forgotten. In the New Testament, Terah is mentioned only indirectly in the genealogy of Jesus, in Luke 3 verse 34, and in Acts 7 verses 2 to 4, where Stephen, in his defense before the Sanhedrin, mentions Abraham's departure from his homeland. Stephen describes how God called Abraham when he was still in Mesopotamia, before he settled in Haran, confirming that Abraham's spiritual journey began while Terah was still alive, but was completed after his death. The story of Terah teaches us some valuable lessons. First, it reminds us that God can call us from unexpected places, and that often the path to fulfilling his plans is initiated by previous generations. Terah was not chosen to be the father of a great nation, but he played a crucial role in taking the first step on the journey that Abraham would complete. Second, the story of Terah warns us about the dangers of being stuck in the past. He started the journey but never completed it. Finally, Terah's life reminds us that total obedience to God's calling is what allows us to enter into the fullness of his promises. As we look at Terah's life, we see that even in his apparent insignificance, he was an important piece in the divine plan. His story, though brief, offers us a rich reflection on legacy, transition, and obedience. May we learn from his example, not only to begin our journey of faith, but to complete it with confidence in the greater purpose that God has for each of us. If you enjoyed this video and want to continue exploring the lesser-known stories of the Bible, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any new content. And leave your comment below telling us which story you would like to see in the next videos. Your participation is super important for us to keep bringing this type of content. Until the next video.